welcome to another Mr. Betabyte video, and this one's a little bit different insofar as we're looking at the Toshiba V9600 video cassette recorder, Betamax of course, and this you might remember from the rather nice V9600 video that I did fairly recently, and I did do a little section in there asking what you notice is a little bit different about this machine. And one person did actually comment with the right answer. I can't find a comment, but I think it's the 70s Magic or something similar, who correctly identified that this has actually got a V8600 head disc on it. That's actually a 4-chip head, so yeah, it's totally pointless having that in here. But the heads are good. I do actually have a V8600 machine, which probably is going to need heads. So what I thought I'd do is actually change it for some brand new old stock heads. Thank you very much, Aaron, for this, and your video will be coming up shortly. It's all done, but I'm saving it. So yeah, but these are brand new old stock heads, and hopefully they should be okay. So, but we shall see. So, without further ado, let's take the top off and get the heads changed. So what should have been a simple head alignment job actually became a little bit more complex, and that's because when you look at the manual, you can see here how it's supposed to be done. So screw in through this screw hole here, and then you have a jig, and then wing nuts, and these two assemblies, the eccentricity gauge onto the rim of the head disc. Now I don't have this jig, I say I don't have two wing nuts, but I have found a solution. So you can see there the jig, and what I've actually done is I've found a screw that fits quite comfortably actually in this screw hole here. I think that'll work the best, and I've 3D printed. I now have a 3D printer, which is great. My first 3D project, 3D print project, is this plate. It's a bit rough, but yeah, I'm still learning. And this is solid. There's no packing in there at all, because obviously I don't want packing. Hole through there, you can see it's slightly off center, to hopefully give a bit more clearance and just make life a bit easier. I sort of guessed it, but this is basically 5mm thick. You can see there it hasn't quite printed very well there, but that shouldn't matter. And then this screw basically will go through here, through that, into that screw hole, and it should be nice and tight, he says, famous last words, and we should be able to do an eccentricity alignment. So with that, let's crack on. Okay, so I'm going to have to think a little bit out of the box here, because the gauge is actually fouling against this guide. So I need to sort of move this the loading ring round. So what I'm going to try and do is release, and it's slightly off shot. Yeah, there's a tensioner roller that's down here just out of shot, and I've slackened that off in the hope that I might be able to rotate this. But obviously that's not going to work, is it? Because what I need to really do is slack off the loading assembly. So, very bodgy way to do it. So what I've done is I've taken the circlip off, and I'm just sort of moving the loading or the lacing ring round. That shouldn't cause any problems. There's no problems with timing with doing that. So it should be okay. So let's try the gauge again. And this is going to be absolutely impossible to video, to be fair. The actual performance of the gauge itself. And I'm also very concerned that I might damage a head chip while I'm playing about with this. Up. So let's get that on there. I'll try and get it so the gauge is up. I mean, we're just going to check the original head, to be honest, because I'm just intrigued to see what the eccentricity is like. Okay, so you can see there the eccentricity is about 1 micrometer-ish. So that's fine. So that works. That's not a bad way to do it. It's not perfect by any means. I do worry about potential issues with it's resting against a guide. Just fine. As long as I'm getting an accurate reading, I'm not getting a skewed reading because of movement or whatever. That should be fine. So I'm happy to proceed with this. Now the problem I have as well is because this is a 8600 drum units. I need to make sure that I get all of these in the right place. So having said that, yeah, this has been installed. It actually looks as if it's been installed on the 9600. It must have been 9600 drum assembly. So they've put an 8600 drum, 8600 set of heads on 9600 drum units. Because there's nothing on there, I didn't notice that. Honestly. There we go. So that's good. I think I just sort of took for granted that probably they just stuck an 8600 drum in there, complete, to get this machine working. But no, they've taken the heads off a 8600 and popped them on a 9600. And yeah, cool. That's actually really good. So these heads were changed, and a tidy solder job, I have to say. Hats off to whoever did this, and no doubt be better than what I do. Maybe. It's only because I'm nervous these days of putting too much heat through anything at this sort of age. I tend to just rely on the original solder and flux and maybe add a tiny bit just for the sake of getting something near tidy and reliable connections, which is potentially wrong, but yeah. Somewhere near where I can lift this off. There we go. So 9600 head disc. That's a good head disc, I hope. I hope I haven't damaged it. And yes, so let's get the new heads on. Looking at the heads, dot on there. It says R there, red, so we know that's the right way, and I'm coming at that at a not brilliant angle, but that's fine. Press that down, so that's now located, and put the screws in, obviously not tightening them because we have to do the eccentricity. You know, I just loved the Sonys that sort of the next generation Sonys, like the C30, for example, where you didn't have to worry about heads, and C9 didn't have to worry about eccentricity, because it is such a pain. It really is a pain. One thing I will say, I don't know whether it's a good idea to actually solder these before or after the alignment, because in theory you're making your life a little bit more interesting by doing them before alignment, because they potentially add some extra forces, the springiness of the wires, so in this case, because these are quite springy. So there we go, not wonderful. I'll have to be tidied up, I think. And then let's get a bit of fresh solder on there. Nice. Now what tickles me slightly is there's a label there, and I wonder how unbalanced this makes this drum, this disc. Andy? So here's the fun bit. Will this work? I just want to move that chip out of the way. Because these things are not as cheap as chips. I probably need to do some refinements to this jig, but tighten that up, and of course it will go wrong. So I need to back this off. There's enough play in there. Enough play for me to do that. So you can probably see a heck of a lot of eccentricity in that. So let's try and get this sorted. Now, I will say, because of the angle of this, you're probably not going to see the gauge. And I apologise for that. I will try my best to show you what's going on. So let's get that somewhere near. Well, that's still not 1 micrometer, is it? So that's the one extreme. So I've just tightened one screw just slightly. So I need to get that back. Whoops. Tighten that back up. Somewhere halfway in between. Yeah, so I've got it now within about 7. There we go. Sorry, you can't see that. I'm back to about 10.
Eight hours later.
So I barely have any movement. That's it. I've done it. My goodness. Oh. It was epic doing that. I think in my head I was sort of thinking, it's a while since I've done one of these. I don't do many of these. Yeah, that's completely and utterly. Gosh, that's really good. In my head, I was thinking I have to sort of adjust it with the screws this way because of where the gauge is. I don't know why I thought that, but you don't. It's just literally find the most eccentric area of the rotation of the disc and just adjust it to halfway. And job's a good one. You know, that was actually really quick in the end. I was just overthinking it. So there we go. So let's remove the gauge. And we're all looking good. I'm just going to tidy up fingerprints a little bit. I don't worry too much. After all, it's a sort of history of the machine. And let's get this drum back on. I'm going to have to put that circlip back on. And I did actually find a replacement screw, because remember that one screw here was quite badly damaged. So yes, I found a good one. And the other thing I did as well was I removed the front loading motor PCB just so you could have a bit better view. I always think that board's a bit of an afterthought. So yeah, I'll get that circlip back on and I suppose give it a test. Okay, so drum's back on, upper drum, circuit's back on, but I've left it I've left it where I unloaded it, or loaded it slightly. So, let's power it on, see what it does. It should do something, maybe. Well, I didn't show any of that. Yeah, so I had to sort of trick the front loading system into what's going on there either. Anyway, let's give it a go. Oh, what's going on there? So that was a bit odd. It's still not quite. Yeah, so let's give it a go. So even though it has a new idler and everything's cleaned, it still struggles when it's first started to wind. Once it gets going, it's fine. But yeah, it's really weird. So, video out. Yeah, it's struggling a bit. So I need to have a look at that and just get that sorted. Right, okay. I had a slight problem with leads, insofar as I had lead confusion. But yeah, so there we go. And you can't see the picture terribly well. But we are good to go. And no vibration on the image. I will say I'm never totally impressed with the colour reproduction on 9600s. Although, I mean, it's not bad. And I don't know this tape, to be fair. But what I will do is I'll do some recordings and playback tests and just make sure it is actually aligned as best as possible. But yeah, so there we have it. That's changing the head disc on a V9600 using an eccentricity gauge. All fun and games, and yeah. I don't do it often enough to really remember how to do it every time I do it. So, but anyway, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this one. A bit random. And yeah, see you in another video. Bye for now.